Hello and welcome to Table Podcast, Episode 7, the one with the Lord of the motherfucking End Times.
Woo! You said that so proper. Dan's like, motherfucking Empire.
Do you know what I've just thought, genuinely? Why don't we just put a 3-second episode out, re-record this one, Episode 8, the number of chaos. We just missed by one. Anyway, that's just me.
That's just for Nurgle, you know.
I thought 8 was the general one.
No, there is no general one.
Well,
the 7.
8 pointed
the
star,
8
isn't
pointed star, but 8 is the holy number of Khorne, 7 is the number of Nurgle, 6 is the number of Slanesh, and 9 is the number of Zayn.
5 gold rings.
Have you never looked at the Reign of Chaos table?
Only when my opponent rolls 2 dice and goes, roll 6 for all units, now take them off because they all got to take leadership tests.
Not anymore.
Oh, brilliant. I love the new world. This is going to be great. I love this new game. Awesome.
So anyway, moving back on topic.
Sorry.
Who's here this week?
So, I'm Neil.
I'm Simon.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Daz.
And I'm... Sorry, I was drinking.
He's drinking and throwing some piss all over himself when he said that then, so...
I'm too excited about the Lord of the End Times.
So what we're going to do in this episode, as well as obviously the normal stuff of what we've been doing and the like, is the main topic is going to be our version of the review.
Get your tongue back.
Our version of a review of the End Times. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the End Times from the point of view of the main character of the End Times, the guy who's missing for pretty much all of the books, Archaon.
Archaon. Evil thug or tortured soul?
Discuss.
And we'll be back with the paternity test at the
Who the hell got DNA sample from him?
Oh no, DNA, sorry, I thought you said something else.
Dirty boy. Yeah, that'd be made of stone as well. You break the cup.
Oh, sorry. It's like kryptonite.
And with that, we're going to have to take a quick break.
Is this where we start talking about Primarchs pooing again?
Look, I genuinely want to ask this question now, right? Because I started asking this before, and I know we're talking about Archaon here. Do Primarchs go to the toilet? Genuinely. Because I was reading one of the heresy books, and it's like, we've got to kill this with the Primarch. We need to face them in battle. Why didn't you sneak up on them when they're on the loo?
Okay, I have 2 answers to that question.
Okay.
First of all, physiologically, yes, they do go to the toilet because they've mentioned in the background multiple times that power armour, which is a lot of what Primarch armour is built off, filters out the waste, if you will, filters out all the natural waste products produced by Space Marines so that they can go around for months at a time wearing power armour without having to come out of it to use the facilities. So that the fact that it has to do that must mean that they do need to...
But is that not just for Space Marines, not Primarchs?
Space Marines are...
Because they were human at one point. Primarchs have never been human, have they?
No, but they are genetically engineered superhumans. They still fulfil the same thing. It's if you remember Mrs. Gren from school, it's something that all things do is excrete.
Sorry, who's Mrs. Gren from school?
Do you not get taught that in Liverpool? Is it all just about how to get the hubcaps off the car in the fastest possible way?
Who the hell is Mrs. Gren from school?
Actually, I've never heard of this one as well.
Really? I thought the science guy would back me up on here. Mrs. Gren is a mnemonic for all the things that all...
I thought your teacher was called Mrs. Gren.
it's a mnemonic device for something that all living things do. MRSGREN, and I can't remember what all of them are, but I'm pretty sure the E is for excrete.
Lovely.
The R is one of the R's is respirate. So they have to do it because they're living creatures.
Okay.
Secondly, the reason they don't just sneak up on them and kill them while they're on the toilet is because how the hell are they sneaking up on them in the first place? How do you, if you've got to the stage where you can wander around a Primarch's battle barge unmolested, wander into their toilet facilities, you've probably already won this war anyway.
No. So I know we're getting really off topic here, but there's one...
Really?
There's a story in the book where, like, Lionel Johnson has got Night Haunter on his ship, right? So why does Night Haunter put some, like, poison in his food to give him stomach pains? So he has to go to the toilet for longer. And
do you not think if you could put some poison in his food, he might just put some, like, Primarch poison?
They're immune to poison.
No. It's not a poison, it's a laxative.
A laxative, yeah.
And where is Kurz getting this laxative from?
This super powerful...
Where is he getting the super diarrhea from?
The medical bay? No?
No! Remember that even in 30k, it was still a grim, dark world. The medical bay is designed to patch up people who've had their arms chopped off in battle. They don't really care if you've got the shits.
I was only thinking...
Or if you're constipated.
I'll tell you where this came from. I was thinking the other day...
I don't think I want to know.
I don't need the backstory.
No. I'll give you the context. I was thinking, did any of the Primarchs have any babies by having sex? And I thought, well, they've got to have sex. They've got to have the parts. If they've got the parts, would they use them to go to the toilet? That's where I was coming from. And I don't know.
There's been no children mentioned in the background. However, unlike Space Marines, it doesn't really make a definitive call one way or another as to whether the Primarchs have a sex drive. Space Marines don't have a sex drive because of the psycho indoctrination they have, part of the genes that go into them, the fact that they're taken before puberty by and large. Primarchs may well have a sex drive, but they could equally be sterile because they are genetically engineered superhumans, and maybe the Emperor, while he was doing it, was thinking, I don't need a whole load of paternity suits all over the universe happening here, so maybe let's just make sure they're firing blanks.
Could you imagine the child paternity claims on that? That'd be a lot.
But it should be mentioned that the Emperor does have a sex drive. But I don't think that's been gone into in the new fluff yet.
But who's he going to have sex with? Because surely he'd kill any woman he has sex with.
Why?
Because he's the freaking Emperor and he's so powerful. It's just like one thrust.
He's a regular dude.
The Emperor is an extraordinarily powerful psyker human. He appears differently to different people because of the psychic aura he projects. So that some people see him as a towering golden-haired giant, and some he's a raven-haired, monstrous brute of a man. But he has existed for thousands of years, walking around humanity. So he's capable of appearing or looking just like a regular human being. Okay. He's just a really powerful psyker, which is why I reckon if the Emperor ever gets stats in the Horus Heresy game, what you'll wind up with is something silly like a level 10 psyker who can reroll, can harness warp charge on a 2+, but who only has the stats of a basic human. So he needs to cast all the biomancy spells to be able to actually hurt things.
Okay. I was only thinking because if Angron was having sex, he'd killed a woman. Surely the Emperor's more powerful than Angron.
There aren't. I'm pretty sure at no point during the universe did they decide we need. On what level shall we scale the Primarch's ejaculant power?
It's when he does it that high, he literally blows her top off. Just like
this was meant to be with the end times,
just kind of off the top.
This might be the end times because if this goes on much longer, I am going to kill myself.
Should we take a break then and come back and see what we're up to in the hobby? Okay, we'll be back in a second.
It's taken a while. We finally
stopped crying.
You should never invite me onto this. You really should.
So, as much as I hate to ask this, Simon, what have you been doing in the hobby recently?
Sculpting anatomically correct sections onto his Space Marines.
I'm more worried about whether or not he's been on the internet searching for very
he's got his two
specific
Primarch models at
pornography.
home, and he's like Ken and Barbie, and he's like, oh yes, Paterbo, I love you so much, Paterbo. Oh yes, I love you.
Oh, Mortaria must be riddled with disease.
On that note, what I've been up to in the hobby, obviously, I've been having project get everything painted for 9th. So I've been trying to get all my...
You mean 9th edition that's not coming?
Correct. Correct. So I've been going through my Orcs and Goblins
time
box,
to do that, then.
painting them all. But other than that, Guild Ball, basically. Guild Ball. So I've got 2 teams now. I've ordered the 3rd team, they're on the way.
You slightly have a problem.
I'm buying the 4th team tomorrow.
Yes.
Because tomorrow, as we're recording this, I'm going to the Northwest Gaming Centre for the first ever 2-day Guild Ball tournament. So I'm taking the Butchers with me. Hopefully to do a good show. I think they're up to about 12 players at the moment, I think.
It's not bad.
It's part of the Toy Soldier thing where there's lots of things. So obviously the next episode I'll be reporting back on there because it'll be my first experience of a Guild Ball tournament.
Yeah, see how it actually holds up competitively.
Yeah, because obviously we played a lot of games between us, but they've all been quite friendly in practice, even in our league and stuff. But to actually see how other people are starting to pick up competitive and different tactics and things. And as part of that, I've also, and I'm going to say this out loud now because you might hear me crying on the next one, I've applied to be a Guild Ball pundit as well. So these are the guys a bit like the privateer press gangers.
Press gangers,
I think it is.
Malifaux, what do they call me? Malifaux. Totally forgotten.
It's probably something French.
Cannot remember at all. But yeah,
Is it
Malifaux.
press gangers?
Malifaux messengers?
No,
I
can't remember what they're called, but Malifaux have something.
Yeah,
as well.
so it's basically the guys to promote it and stuff. And as you probably guessed from listening to all the previous episodes, I quite like the game.
Yeah, you've got a proper stiffy for it, haven't you?
I have. Just like a Primarch. Sorry. Move on from me. Move on.
So what about you, Daz? What have you been doing this week, hobby-wise?
I don't want to say now, because I've also been playing Guild Ball. I've got Operation Sort All My Elder Out and stuff, so I've been rummaging through.
There's a lot of operations going on with you.
Yes. I've got a massive pile of Eldar stuff, which I'm still sorting through and trying to rebuild and actually make not a pile of crap and turn it into something I can use. And then, because I had my arm twisted, I got a Guild Ball team for my birthday and managed to pull lucky and got a team I actually quite like playing with. I've had 3-4 games now, and I've enjoyed every single one of them. And every single game I'm just learning a little bit more of the rules. So the first game was pretty simple, and then I'm learning more complex things like passing and then receiving the passing and using momentum to then dodge out and then kick and stuff like that, which is, making it a little bit more, it's getting deeper. That's a better way of describing it. It gets deeper every time I play it, and I can understand the tactics behind it more. At the start it was run forward smash, rah, and now I'm actually passing to players, and because in the first couple of games I didn't see the point of the ball at all. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. Guild Ball.
Have you actually painted or built anything recently?
I've built 3 War Walkers from the smashed up riddled pieces that they were in the bottom of my massive box of Eldar. I built up my Guild Ball team. Not actually put any paint down. Oh no, I painted my Warp Hunter. I hadn't.
The Ulthway one.
The Ulthway Warp Hunter, yeah, I painted that. That was a little while ago. It was about 2 weeks ago now. That was me just trying out to see if I could get black to work on a large flat scale like that, because black's a pain in the bum to actually get to look like black without it looking like dark grey or just flat black. And that's come out pretty decently as well, so that was kind of the testing point. The £40 Forge World model rather than the cheap ones. So that was a testing point, and I'm trying to copy it over onto the other models now. That was it.
I've been doing lots of random stuff recently. The other day I randomly started trying to sculpt a diving helmet onto a Space Marine for...
diving helmet.
What was that for?
That was for the DIY chapter challenge that I hope you guys are all taking part in as
Yes,
well.
yeah, I have been a good boy. I've posted on Twitter. I've ordered the Iron Hands upgrade sprue, so that is on the way. That might tell you something of along the lines of what I'm doing, but yes. Sorry, anyway. That's what it was for, diving bell.
I have a cunning plan. It's either going to look awesome or be utter shout, as most of our cunning plans are.
Underwater Space Marines.
Kind of, not quite Space Marines.
Oh. I have no comeback question on that point, just,
Is this something to do with #secret project?
No, that's something different. This is to do with my Cthulhu fetish.
Is this how you stop people's heads being blown off when they're having sex with the Primarch?
It doesn't necessarily blow out, it just kind of contains
the mess.
The brain and semen.
So it's clearing up afterwards.
I suppose it's a condom for the body when he's...
I'm so glad you asked this question, Simon.
Yeah.
I mean, we really have nothing to talk about tonight otherwise.
I'm just slightly disappointed because of the way we record. We tend to record our main section first. I'm just slightly disappointed we've already recorded our main section, because otherwise I feel like this could have been a running comment throughout the entirety.
I genuinely want to do a ask question of 30k background again, because I read the books, but there's stuff I have no idea
based
about.
on the question that you've just asked.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea.
I just want to know this extra information.
You know what? If you want to ask questions about the 30k background, that's always welcome. We're happy to elaborate on things where we have the knowledge. It would be nice if they weren't all sex related. But if that's the bit that really interests you, then I suppose people will just know to give you a wide berth at tournaments from now on.
Dan's going to be such an awesome teacher. He's just change that to any other subject, and that's him speaking to a teenager.
Pretty much. So Dan,
Yeah.
what have you been up to recently?
I've been painting Guild Ball and playing Guild Ball. No.
No, you
So you're not
haven't.
been painting any Guild Ball.
I've been shouting at you.
I still have no. I haven't. I've not yet. We're now into July, and I have not yet broken my hobby resolution of playing with an unpainted model. So I haven't been able to play Guild Ball yet because I haven't painted my team. I am hoping to paint them over this weekend, though. I have been furiously chopping, drilling, filing, and boring.
You're going to get him excited if you carry on like that.
Boring out a combination of fine cast plastic and resin Forge World Space Marines to create some true scale Space Marines for my Emerald Knights DIY chapter for the chapter challenge. I'm now up to 4 completed and 3 that I ran out of heads for, so those are on the way from eBay to let me finish those off. I'm trying to get 1,000 points of that together on the true scale Marines, which is it's taking quite a while. It's a lot of work to put them together.
Can I ask what's a true scale Marine?
And true scale Marine is one that more accurately reflects the scale that they're described in the books and shown in the artwork. If you have a look at the Space Marine models, a plastic Space Marine barely stands any taller than a plastic Cadian, even though in armour a Space Marine should be 8 foot tall and a Cadian should be 6 foot tall at best. So you should be looking at quite at least a head's difference, if not probably more than that. I mean, it should be 2 foot difference. They should be a lot bigger than them. They should be a lot bulkier.
So you're not building a 6 foot Space Marine true scale.
I'm not building
No,
it
because that would be an 8 foot
8
Space
foot.
Marine built out of
Forge World resin. Yeah.
out of 28mm models. That's
I
going
mean,
to take a
of
lot.
spare bits
That
and
would be
stuff,
awesome.
but-
What I'm doing is combining parts and some sculpting to make bigger Space Marines so that they stand about the size they should do. They stand about a head taller than a standard Marine. They're a lot broader, they're a lot bulkier, so they look more like they do in the artwork. But it is a lot of work. It involves using the way I build them. The way I build them, it's actually a lot easier than the way a lot of other people do. I'm just combining parts for the most part. It is a set of Cataphracti Terminator legs with the leather kilt or pteryges, is that how you say it? Pteryges? I don't know. It's probably not pteryges because that'd be like pterodactyl. But the leather things hanging down over their Space Marine
Chaps.
Chaps. Because they're all cowboys.
I've sculpt over those to create a kind of tabard loincloth that you have hanging down an awful lot.
Yeah, to cover their modesty for
The modesty, right? The bits and pieces.
That's the legs done. The body uses the back of a Grey Knight Terminator torso with the psychic hood cut off and the vents filed down until they're square instead of sloping, and the front of any torso that you want. I've used a lot of robed ones, tabarded ones, because I'm trying to do a knightly themed chapter, but it does work as well with plastic fronts, and some of them I've taken some of the Forge World Mark IV armour, cut the torso in half and then stuck that to it. So those form your torso, they go onto the legs. Regular power armoured arms go on, but you'll need to pin and twist around a bit because they're designed to fit on a narrower body. So the power armoured arms go on. Any gaps between the smaller front and larger rear torso is only visible at the armpit, and that's easily sculpted to have some cabling in there. Stick the head on, stick the backpack on, and then put the shoulder pads on so that you can manipulate the shoulder pads and make sure that they don't get in the way of the head and don't make it look a bit weird, because the head's a bit more sunken into the chest than you would expect. So if you put the shoulder pads on where you think they'll be, you might find they're a bit out of place. So they need a little bit of jamming around, and then put them on the new 32mm bases and they just look like bigger, meatier Space Marines. I've also this week been agonising over what to do about the Fresh Dawn Warhammer campaign weekend and the Bank Holiday weekend in August. I had said we were going to use the most recent version of the Warhammer rules, provided it was still ranked Warhammer in the way that we knew it. I want to start by saying all the stuff I've read about Age of Sigmar I'm really excited about. This isn't me saying Age of Sigmar is rubbish, but I have made the decision that it will be played using the 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle rules, purely because at the moment we don't have enough information about Age of Sigmar. We don't know if there's going to be points values and things like that in it. It's looking like maybe not. And the actual stats have changed. The statistic profile is not the same, and I do not have time to rewrite, playtest and balance 80 pages of alternate army lists like I had done in the run-up to it already. So it will be played using the 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle rules. It's a 3,000 point narrative campaign weekend, and it's kind of a what if the end times had just been saved, and what if Manfred hadn't killed Teclis and the world hadn't ended and they'd managed to wrest it back from the brink, and I imagine what would have happened from there. So some changes to the background, how they pick up the pieces afterwards, and I'm hoping some people will come along. All the details are on the Warhammer forum. It's called Fresh Dawn, and tickets are now live for that.
So we should say that's the August bank holiday weekend, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And also, by the time this goes out, there should also be a page up on the blog with events, which will be just cover if any of us put any events on anywhere. We're just going to put them up on there, and that'll be up on there as well.
Yeah, hopefully from now on you'll be able to get all the details you want about the campaign weekends on the blog. Once that page is live, we'll also get details of the Horus Heresy campaign weekend, Gates of Terror Part 2, the Menibus belt that's running in April next year, and in May next year there will be the first Age of Sigmar campaign weekend that I'm running, so the details of that will be on there. When I decide what that will be.
And I think that's it for this segment. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with the main segment of the show. So what we thought we'd do in this episode is we'd review the end times, but we'd review it from the point of view of the one person who's not actually in the end times book much, but it's actually all about, which is Archaon.
Well, yeah. Yeah, okay, he's the Lord of the End Times.
It kind of says it in the title, but he's kind of conspicuously absent through the vast majority of the books.
Was he getting a power like manicure or something like
that?
No,
he's doing stuff, and what he's doing gets
he's doing stuff.
He is doing stuff, and what he's doing gets mentioned in the. We're talking about the background books that came with the rule books in the rather than the End Times novel series that Black Library did as well. He is doing things, but he never really gets covered from his point of view. You get the odd scene where Archaon cuts off a lieutenant's head, or he does something like that. But there's no motivation given for him, nothing written from his point of view, presumably because it's easier and to get the audience into the good guys and get them supporting the people who are trying to stop the end of the world. And Archaon got wrote almost like a force of nature, where he's just this big black armoured monster on the horizon who's coming over with an untold horde of numberless northerners who will just march down and destroy the world. But there's no reason given for that, and he comes across as a really dull, boring character because he's just, evil lord kills things. Evil lord kills more things. Evil lord kills his friends. Evil lord has no friends. And that's it. That's all he does. And then he destroys the world.
That's it. So we've summed up the end times there, I think.
So what we've discovered is Archaon is Ned Stark. He's got a lot of northerners. Really boring. Just goes and kills people down south. Ta-da!
But you have.
Was one to come.
You know what? He is. There's been so much written about Archaon over the years, including the two novels, Archaon Everchosen and Archaon Lord of Chaos, which are basically his origin story. His fleshes out what had been written years ago. The first things they wrote about Archaon when his rules came out in 5th edition in the Champions of Chaos supplement, when he was a very different model, but whose rules were still basically the same. He was immune to everything and killed the world. He was a Sigmarite priest or a Templar or something like that, and he read something in a book, screamed no, realised the truth, and ran up north, never to be heard of again, until he united everybody under his banner and marched south. And at the time, he was a reasonably two-dimensional Chaos Lord like all the other ones. He just happened to have a little bit more background, given in that they explained that he used to be a devout Sigmarite who saw something that shook his faith so much he swung to the other side and went to worship Chaos. And then he got a new model with the next... Spuddy's just insulting me here by handing me the Warhammer Wikia page for Archaon, like I require this in some way. What I'm doing, Simon, is explaining the original story for Archaon, and I'll then go into some detail about what came next.
Sorry.
Some of us starting to develop that proper teacher voice there, you know.
Some of us already know this stuff.
Sorry, sir.
I'm doing this for your benefit.
Sorry.
You got told off. I know. He shouted. So then they brought out the new model for Archaon with the 6th edition Hordes of Chaos book. Fantastic model, still one of the best ones they make by a country mile. I absolutely love that model. And he got his new version of his rules, which was still broadly the same as the other one. He wasn't quite immune to everything, but he was still pretty.
Was it the
pretty
one where he was on
nice.
foot?
No, it's still on the horseback.
It's on the horseback, right?
Yeah. But that was the version of him up on the massive Dorgar, where he's on the 50mm base and he's got the fancy helmet and sticking his sword out instead of piddly little 28mm guy on a regular cavalry based horse.
Oh, okay. So it's the one we've still got now, is it?
Yeah.
Well,
The
rare, yeah.
present Archaon is the one that came out with 6th edition Hordes of Chaos book,
Oh,
and
okay.
it was the best model they'd done by a mile at the time, and it stood the test of time really well. He didn't get much more fleshing out in there. It was the same deal. He was evil Chaos Lord who was so charismatic or so powerful he managed to unite all the warring tribes, and that was basically it. And then Storm of Chaos came around, and they did the limited edition Archaon on foot model, so he could march through the streets of Middenheim killing people without having to ride Dorgar everywhere.
Oh, okay.
But at the time, there was no way to use that model because you could only field Archaon on Dorgar. Well, I think it was Sorak. I think that's what they used to call the Steed of the Apocalypse. And then he had multiple names, and now it's just Dorgar. I'm assuming it's pronounced with Sorak. It started with a W apostrophe Y S and then maybe a K. It was a ridiculous chaos name. They made it a lot easier with Dorgar. But he is the Steed of the Apocalypse, demon shape-shifting horse, who, unfortunately, for those of us who tried to use him in the game, only ever resembles a horse instead of shape-shifting into a dragon or something with wings.
Didn't know you could shapeshift.
Yeah.
Yeah, live and learn. See, I've learned something new, boys and girls.
Yep. So then they had the appalling resolution for Storm of Chaos, where Chaos accidentally won, and then the writers thought, "Oh shit, we can't end the Warhammer world. What would happen then?" So
I don't know.
Yeah,
What would happen then?
have a Deus Ex Greenskin come in, headbutt him, and he goes off to Brasskeep, and it's all right. There was a terrible war, and Chaos were victorious, but everything's basically the same now afterwards.
Can I just ask, actually, because I wasn't around when that happened, did he literally just walk up, headbutt, and that was the end of it, and then we all woke up in a shower?
No, it gets kind of simplified. The way the Storm of Chaos ended originally, because Chaos won, was they laid Volton low, didn't quite kill him,
Right.
crippled Volton, and he was carried away. Luther Huss managed him to get him away. Whilst Archaon was celebrating having killed the champion of Sigmar and pretty much taken Middenheim, Grimgor arrived with his army, who marched his way up north through everything besides Crom's army, because Crom the Conqueror at the time was well regarded in the background. And Crom was kicking ass all over the old world. Grimgor arrived, he battled his way up there, and it kind of all happened at the same time, this siege. So Archaon had just finished dealing with Volton. Luther Huss comes in and drags Volton's beaten, battered, dying body away, and Archaon's attacked by Grimgor, who sees big, horned Chaos Lord, uses the standard Warhammer or 40k approach of he's got the fanciest hat, so he must be the guy in charge.
Right.
And thinks, well, I want to go at him, because Grimgor, the even more two-dimensional than original Archaon, Grimgor's entire personality is, I want to fight people. And that's it. So he thinks, right, he looks quite big, I want to fight him. And he fights him, and he headbutts him, and Archaon falls down, and Grimgor decides, instead of actually doing the only thing Grimgor would have done in the background then, of finishing the person he was fighting, Grimgor decides, yeah, I think I've proven myself here. No need to kill him. I've knocked him down. That's it. We're doing like wrestling rules here. He's been knocked down a few times. Technical knockout. I'm going. So Grimgor leaves. Archaon then doesn't press his advantage. He's taken Middenheim, but he's been headbutted, so he leaves as well. And that's
and that was it.
the last bit in the last bit in the story was, and Volton was killed in his sleep. Probably by Deathmaster Snicked. It was a Skaven assassin, and there's 3 blades, weeping blades off his tails, and it's heavily hinted at but not officially said it was Snicked who came in and killed him.
Right, okay.
And then the next edition of the game came out, and they were like, and the Storm of Chaos is about to start, rather than this is what happened afterwards.
Oh, so it went backwards?
Yeah, they wound the clock
Which is
back
what
to
people
just before.
thought was going to happen with the end of Age of
End times.
End times. Yeah.
People
It was
did-
Thought it was
go-
going to
it
get
was
reset back to the start of the fluff again.
Got you.
Originally.
Right.
So instead of having the Storm of Chaos be the little light rain of chaos that had it was spitting chaos, and it ended on such a piss poor note, they thought, let's wind it back and use it as the thing that's on the horizon that's going to cause all the problems, like they do with 40k with the 13th Black Crusade. The 13th Black Crusade worldwide campaign finished, and you saw what happened after that. And yet now all of the background refers to the 13th Black Crusade having just started rather than happened.
Right, okay.
So they did that with Storm of Chaos.
Okay.
And then you don't really see anything of Archaon again until the 6th edition Warriors of Chaos book came. Not 6th edition, the 8th edition Warriors of Chaos book came out. He gets a mention in the 7th edition book, but not much. The 6th edition Warriors of Chaos book tells his story a little bit more about how he gathered the treasures of Chaos, which is what marks him as the Everchosen. And I'll go into what the Everchosen is in a minute. And basically all that seemed to be was an excuse to make sure he'd had a superhero team up with every other named character in that book. So it didn't matter that there are hundreds of thousands of Chaos champions across the world. It didn't matter that there's a long history of decent Chaos lords in the background. Archaon had to meet up with Valkyr, Village, Galrausch, Kolek, Sigvald, and Throg before he'd assembled all of the treasures of Chaos and became the Everchosen. And that was basically it there. It gave you a little bit more of a story of how he went from being a Chaos Lord to being Lord of the End Times. And then, as far as the game books are concerned, then he starts his march south into the End Times, and we'll come on to that, what he did actually during the war during the End Times books. But what it misses out on is all of the motivation that makes him an interesting character, all of the things that make him not just generic Chaos Lord. I like skulls, I like spikes, my helmet is the horniest helmet, therefore I am the boss, and you must all bow down before me. And that's all there had been to him up until then. And the fact that he was a Sigmarite at one point.
Right.
But that's all been fleshed out in the Black Library novels that really give you a lot more. They're all, for one thing, Archaon's written effectively as the hero. He is a villain, but it's all his point of view, it's his story, and you really get to see why he does what he does with the End Times, and why he absolutely believes what he's doing is the right thing to do. And in his head, he is still the noble knight hero doing what he needs to do. But that involves having to become the Everchosen.
Right, okay.
So do you know what the Everchosen is?
Yes. He is always chosen by Chaos.
What, like when the 4 Chaos Gods line up and pick teams for the 5-a-side tournament?
They always want him first.
The Everchosen, originally, in the background, he was it. He was the Everchosen of Chaos. He was the one who had earned all 4 of their patronage, all 4 of their marks. Because it was possible to worship all of the gods of Chaos, but it wasn't unless you were an especially devout, special one that you were blessed with the mark of Chaos. That was, you had to be like all Khorne all the time. You lived, breathed, and drank blood, skulls, and brass. And then if you were really lucky, you might be blessed with the mark of Khorne. So it was impossible for you to get multiple marks because you couldn't devote yourself to all 4 gods equally at the same time. Likewise, you couldn't be all skulls, all brass, all blood, all the time, and still be into the antithesis of that and the pride, pleasure, lust, and wanton abandon of Slaanesh that would earn you his mark.
Don't they hate each other as well?
Yeah.
Oh, right, so you couldn't get 2 marks.
That's what antithesis means, Simon.
Do you want to see Wikipedia again?
It was impossible to get more than 1 mark.
Right.
So it was a big deal that he had been blessed by all 4 of the gods of Chaos.
And was he the first character to get that?
He was the first model in the game to get that.
First model.
And originally, in his first set of background, he was the first character to get that.
Right.
But they changed that, I think, when he got his new model in 6th edition, but I have to check it to be sure. It was one of the versions of the army books changed it so that he was the latest Everchosen. And there have been multiple Everchosens, but only one of them would actually be the Lord of the End Times.
Right.
So the Lord of the End Times was prophesied to end the world. And what made people think Archaon was the Lord of the End Times was, first of all, the fact that he was the Everchosen, but also the fact that he hadn't been turned into a demon prince yet. And he'd done more than enough to warrant the eternal life of a demon prince, which is what all Chaos champions actually want. They want to be turned into a demon, they want immortality. And the fact that Archaon hadn't ascended to demonhood must mean that he had been marked out for something really special. So that's what led him to believe he was both Everchosen and Lord of the End Times.
Oh, okay.
The Everchosen is Chaos's representative on Earth, because Chaos doesn't really care for its demons. They are little. If you imagine the fact that Chaos Gods have sentience, but only because they grew to such a size that they kind of developed it on their own. They are the Gestalt presence based on really base human emotions that manifest in the realm of chaos. The way metaphysics work, or used to work, at least in the Warhammer world, is the realm of chaos was like a reflection of the emotional side of the material realm. That's why Sigmar was able to effectively become a god, because people worshipped him. That faith and that worship coalesced into creating the god Sigmar in the realm of chaos. Likewise, the base emotions that drive humanity, rage, lust, despair, and hope, coalesced into the 4 chaos gods, and the demons are a portion of them. So the demons are almost like tiny. They create them, but they are much smaller, infinitesimally smaller, tiny versions of chaos gods. So a couple of people's hope might coalesce into a pink horror, whereas the gestalt hope of the entire universe creates Tzeentch.
Oh wow, okay.
So they don't care about the demon. They enjoy having their demons wage war, and sometimes they'll have favourite ones that do things for them that amuse them. But they don't really covet demons, because demons don't have a choice about what they do. They have to devote themselves to their patron god, because they are a part of it and intrinsically connected to it. A Khorne bloodthirster can't decide, actually, I like the pitch the other guys are selling instead. I'm going to go
Paints himself pink. Yeah. Runs out going,
I'm going to go join Team Slanesh. I fancy some of that wanton abandon and lust. Fed up with the brass in the skull. He can't do it because he's hardwired not to. His entire existence is exalted in this. He exalts in the same things that Khorne does, because he's a micro little, like a microcosm of Khorne. That's what a bloodthirster is. So they don't really care about the demons. What they want is mortal worship.
Right.
Not only because it gives them more strength, because actively worshipping a chaos god pours more power into them than just the subconscious experiencing of their emotions, or everybody who gets angry feeds Khorne a little bit. But somebody who worships Khorne and goes out and uses that rage to chop off heads in his name is feeding him a lot more. So the mortal champions are far more precious to them. They want them they don't need them to survive. You can't destroy a chaos god unless you also wiped out all sentient life in the universe. So they're safe. They're happy with that. It's just a game to them, and it's like the chaos gods are. I'm only just realising this now. Like a really weird metaphor for wargamers. All they want to do is collect all of the little soldiers in the material realm to fight for them, and they want the best collection of ones to fight for them, not because they need it, not because it sustains them, just because they can.
Wow. So I'm a god.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am a god. I will take that to the bank. Thank you very much.
The end times is basically just the version of when they finally get fed up with the game of Monopoly and just throw the board over and get up and leave. Right, that's it. Done. I'm playing 40k instead. Let's set that one up.
Do you think the Chaos Gods heard about Age of Sigmar and Rage Quit?
No, because they're in the starter box.
Oh, bollocks. Yeah.
Well, actually, only one's in the starter
Yeah,
box. The other 3 are
Rage Quit. They're not playing the game anymore.
So Archaon is like the Pope, in a way.
But they don't have a unified church.
No, but,
he's just one
the
that they all share. They all pour their power into him, and all of the previous Everchosen had worshipped chaos devoutly, and they sought it out, and it's a fantastic honour to be blessed with it, and to see if you could fulfil the prophecy and be Lord of the End Times and destroy the world. It's never quite made clear why they want to destroy the world, because they depend upon sentient life for existence. However, the Warhammer world does exist within a larger universe. That used to be the 40k universe. It's
heavily hinted within the End Times that it still is.
It's connected to it via the Realm of Chaos, but not necessarily the same universe. But there are extraterrestrial life, because the old ones came from another world, and the lizardmen get up and leave and go to another world.
And there's also that point where the Skaven hear the elf-like voices coming basically over a radio, don't they?
Yeah.
And they freak out.
There's the Grey Knight that randomly appears halfway through it.
Yeah. So that fact means that they could destroy the Warhammer world and not destroy themselves, because there are other worlds out there feeding them. You need to destroy all sentient life in the universe to wipe them out. So maybe they just want to see who can wreck this one just for fun. Although I guess Tzeentch already knows, and he's just not telling, because that's kind of his whole thing.
But then I suppose that's kind of like in the 40k fluff in the Eye of Terror. They're constantly fighting over different worlds, aren't they? You know, it's like Tzeentch owns this world, so Khorne will come and try and take it off him. Not because Khorne needs that world, but because they're bored, so they're
It's
going to
not-
have a fight.
Yeah, they refer to it as the Great Game, and it's like all they do to pass the time is play war games, but with like I say real people. They're not real, and I'm not that into it that I think that they are. But they haven't got to paint them.
So they're not real.
Nobody had to sit down and at no point does Tzeentch sit down and have to paint Village. He just is Village, so it's fine. So the ever chosen.
Do you think he looks at his stat sheet beforehand and goes, yeah.
Well, Tzeentch,
Do you think he's
Tzeentch
worth the
probably
points?
does.
Yeah.
Tzeentch looks at like 7 or 8 stat sheets and goes, "We'll use that one for him today."
Yeah.
But yeah, the ever chosen have always done some grand thing and made some big push. The first one, not a lot of them have been named. The first one was Morcar, and I think the last ever chosen was Asavar Kull, who led the Great War against Chaos. Well, he was leading the Chaos side in the Great War against Chaos. You're looking at me like you don't know what the Great War against Chaos is.
Sorry, he led Chaos against Chaos.
The war is referred to as the Great War against Chaos.
Because it's referred to from the Empire point of view, as all the Warhammer fluff tends to be. The history tends to come from
No, I
the
get
Empire's
that.
point of view. So it's referred to as the Great War against Chaos. Even though, obviously, if you're in Chaos, it's the Great War against the Empire. But nobody would...
Right, okay, I'm with you now. Sorry, I thought you said he led Chaos in the war against Chaos.
Well, I did, but
that's what it was called.
I know, but in my head that means
Yeah.
so he led the Empire against Chaos. The
Yeah.
Chosen. Sorry, right. Okay.
no, that was... Have you heard of Magnus the Pious?
Magnus the Red Primarch?
No.
No.
Magnus the Pious.
No.
I'm talking about 30.
Okay, shall we do a quick run through the Great War against Chaos for anyone who's not read any of the background sections in any of the army books, because it's mentioned in damn near every one. I think it's about 500 years behind the present timeline. The Empire is in three pieces. It's the time of 3 emperors. It's around the same time Mordheim happened. They can't decide who actually should be the real emperor. Asavar Kull is elevated to the position of Ever Chosen of Chaos, and with his Herald Engra Deathsword, who, fun fact, is the guy on the 6th edition Hordes of Chaos army book cover. That's Engra. They make their big push south, and as with every big Chaos incursion, they start by fucking Kislev. It's like the pre-drinks section of a Chaos night out. We'll warm up by wrecking Kislev, and then we'll go fight the real guys. So Kislev gets sacked, Prague gets haunted and all but destroyed. Prague, I think, has been razed down, the ground salted and rebuilt 4 or 5 times, and every time it's because Chaos marches through it and pollutes it with magic. So they come down, they do their big march, the Empire's on its knees, and Magnus the Pious unites them under his banner, and he will become the Emperor afterwards. He leads the big push back, and he sends word to the elves of Ulthuan begging for aid. At this time, magic and sorcery and witchcraft was outlawed in the Empire, so they had no magic to combat Chaos's attacks. And the Lawmasters of Hoeth permit them 3 elves. 3 elves are allowed to go and help them, but they are Teclis and 2 other archmages who come to the old world, are key in turning back the tides of chaos. They knock them all back, reassemble the Empire under one leader, Magnus the Pious, and then Teclis stays behind and sets up the colleges of magic and teaches the principles of magic to humans so they can defend themselves in the future. And then he goes back to doing whatever it is he does in Ulthuan. I assume it's sit in his room drinking his stay alive potion and wishing he was Teclis, not wishing he was Tyrion, as Tyrion porks his way around the royal courts of Eotane. So yeah, he was the last one, Asavar Kull.
Right.
Obviously not Lord of the End Times, because Magnus beat him and the world didn't end. Archaon's story starts a couple of 100 years ago. Well, I guess it starts thousands of years ago with Be'lakor. Be'lakor, the Dark Master, was the first Demon Prince. He was the first Chaos Champion who was fancy and awesome enough that the Chaos God said, you know what, come join us. We're going to give you eternal life. We're going to turn you into a Demon Prince. And he is, at least that's mentioned in the background, the only undivided Demon Prince. Be'lakor, the Dark Master, and he loved it. He was a prince, and he was the only prince. He ruled over greater demons and other things in the realm of chaos. The world was his to command. And then more people started doing good, and the Chaos Gods thought, we'll have you as well. You can have some wings. And You over there, you can have some wings. And as you can tell from the state of battlefields nowadays, shitloads of demon princes. No shortage of demon princes. So he didn't like this, didn't Be'lakor? He got more and more pissed off as his power and his influence kept getting diluted as more people got raised up. And he quite liked being the king of everything, and then starting to think, well, what are these people doing here? This is my world, this is my realm, I want to control it. And he started to resent the Chaos Gods. But he is eternal and intrinsically tied to them and immortal, so there's not really anything he can do. All he can do is rage against it. And he's tried a few times to usurp them. He's been banished a few times. He's been cursed so that he can't manifest physically in the mortal realm for very long, which is why he's now kind of the Master of Shadows. And he's had a couple of plays for power over the years. They wrote him quite well into the background of some of the global campaigns before he was revealed as Be'lakor in the background of Storm Chaos. A couple of the more notable things he did is Be'lakor is the Dark Master, and the Dark Master's cropped up. Well, he has, but he's cropped up a couple of times. One in the Dark Shadows campaign, the Albion campaign. All of the Dark Emissaries who were turning from the true faith of the Truthseers and was trying to recruit people to come and fight in Chaos's name on Albion were worshipping the Dark Master, who was Be'lakor. All of the possessed cults, effectively the Chaos faction in Mordheim, worshipped the Dark Master because he kind of coalesced into all of the weirdness that was happening in Mordheim to try and play that and see if he could get control there. And that didn't work. So then he came up with his master plan of create the perfect Chaos champion, make him ever chosen, let him be Lord of the End Times, march down, destroy the Empire, conquer the world, and then possess the bastard, because he'll be the king of the world, and then I'll be running him, because I'll be tied to him, I'll be wearing his suit, his skin like a suit, and I can march around doing things mortals did again. I'm back in the real world, and I'm bonus, I'm also the king of the world. So that's his plan. And he does it by judicious use of time travel, by the looks of it.
Right.
Time in the realm of chaos does not flow the same as it does in reality. He's also tied to Tzeentch as much as he is tied to all the other chaos gods, and Tzeentch can see everything past, present, and future. So Be'lakor it seems like he can be in multiple places and multiple times at the same time, so he can keep rewriting things. This all seems to have been written in the Black Library novels, and it doesn't really cover why he doesn't just do this to fix many of his other cock-ups over the every time he's tried to seize power and failed. Why doesn't he just, I'll just Bill and Ted it, I'll just go back, I just remember that in the future I need to come back in time and give myself a big sword here, and then I'll be fine.
Instead he does it like we're doing Back to the Future.
Yeah,
he has to actually go back and physically fix the cock-up he's done before, rather than going, actually, just what do.
But he has the ability to do that, and doesn't. He's just like, you know what, I'm rage quitting, I've tried with Mordheim, and it didn't work, and I'm pissed off, and I'm done with it. I'm going back to the realm of chaos for a bit.
Yeah, he sat at home and tub of Ben and Jerry's, and
Tub of Ben and Jerry's. Cookie dough.
Yeah.
Cookie dough.
Be'lakor's comfort food. So what does he do? He goes find some Estalian guy. He finds an Estalian seer and makes him write a prophecy of Archaon, who would be the Lord of the End Times. And this prophecy, the Divine Book of Celestine or something like that, is later used a lot in the whole Archaon prophecy, the one who would become ever chosen and end the world. But sort of bollocks, because Be'lakor just wrote it to suit what he wanted. He wrote down what he wanted to happen, so that when those things happened, it all kind of synced up and people thought it was predestined, instead of just Be'lakor playing the game from the shadows.
So there is no prophecy? Because I thought in the End Times books, when you read it, they always talk about Archaon fulfilling the prophecy.
Yeah, no, Be'lakor made it up.
So there's no...
it suits his purpose to have people think that's what's happening, so he made it up.
Did he make up the elf one, then?
I don't know.
I'm asking random questions now, by the way.
I don't think it's... No, please, bring questions. I haven't prepared anything for this. I'm talking off the top of my head. I don't think he did, but it's not... I don't think it's definitively mentioned who did. So it's quite likely that Be'lakor could have just written it for shits and giggles, because occasionally he just dicks with people for the fun of it.
Okay.
So a lot of the prophecies could have been written by Be'lakor, who just basically crops up, finds a seer, and then bullies them into writing down what he wants, and then pops off back into the realm of shadow again.
Bellacor's version of Jackass, basically. It's all a massive hidden camera show and he's setting it all up for them.
But you see, this is why it's worth knowing all this background rather than just what's in the End Times books. Because now the End Time books read differently, knowing that prophecy is actually Be'lakor as opposed to it actually being a proper prophecy.
So actually, what you're telling me is Archaon's just a puppet?
No.
No. Right, okay.
That's how it starts.
Right.
That's why I find Archaon such an interesting character. He has all these people trying to pull his strings, and yet he still maintains the fact that he's his own man and he does his own thing.
Okay.
Because bear in mind that the Lord of the End Times would sack the world, destroy it all, but then rule the world, because that's part of Be'lakor's plan. He wants to rule the world by having Archaon conquer it and then possess Archaon. And as you know from the End Times books, Archaon does not conquer the world, he ends it.
Well, he wants to end it, doesn't he?
Yes.
Right.
So Be'lakor, he writes the prophecy, and then he goes about doing what's necessary to make the prophecy come to pass. And part of that, I think the first bit in the prophecy is Archaon would be born of chaos, born of two worlds. And basically, he full-on Darth Vader's it. The first few acts of Archaon's backstory are almost word for word what Darth Sidious does to create Anakin Skywalker. There is a northern town in the Empire that's attacked by northern raiders, and one woman's about to get raped by a barbarian, and the bells are ringing to signal the alarm. And just as he's about to have his way with her, he gets his head chopped off because the men have come back from fishing to do it. So then Be'lakor says, well, what would happen if the bells weren't ringing? What happens if they hadn't rung? So then the chapter's written again, but without the bells ringing, she gets raped by this Chaos guy.
So this is where he time travels?
Yeah, he just keeps changing little details. Like,
okay.
If the alarm bells weren't ringing, no one stops the Chaos Marauder from raping the Empire woman. And then she dies in childbirth, and the baby dies or something like that, so he changes things slightly so that she dies but the baby survives. But then because the baby survived, the dad doesn't want it because he knows it's not his kid. His wife's dead, he's angry at the whole thing, and he abandons it by a Sigmarite mission. And the kid doesn't get found, and he's a little baby left outside, and he dies. So Be'lakor changes things again. And what happens if someone had just strolled past and found him at this point? And he's taken in by a priest called Father Dagobert? It's a German Dagobert, I guess.
Translates to Ted.
Yeah. Taken in by Father Ted. Who tries to raise him as a good Sigmarite boy. He is plagued by illness, and he dies a couple of times from fevers. And each time, Be'lakor just slightly tweaks things to keep him going. At one point, I imagine he's thinking, maybe I should just start again. Maybe this isn't actually worth all of the effort because this kid seems really intent on dying. But
I thought you ever got one reroll as well, but we've had loads of you.
I mean, so this is old-fashioned fate points.
Can I just ask then, right? So, Be'lakor has got all 4 marks.
Be'lakor doesn't have any marks.
Doesn't have any marks. But is part of like the gang of all 4 gods.
He's a demon of chaos rather than a demon of one of the chaos gods.
So obviously, because of Tzeentch, he has this future ability, he can travel in time and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering now why the gods just don't stop him, or do you think Tzeentch just goes, well, he's going to fail anyway, just leave him to it?
It's because they don't care.
Right, they just don't care.
Be'lakor's torment amuses them. The fact that I presume Tzeentch knows he won't succeed, and the fact that he keeps trying is just another, either they don't care, or, this is fun, it's our favourite show, watch Be'lakor's next train wreck.
Right, okay.
One of the punishments for him, in fact, I forgot this bit, one of the punishments for one of his many fuck-ups is that Be'lakor must crown the Ever-Chosen. Not only is he not allowed to manifest physically in the mortal realm and rule it like he used to do, he has to be the guy who puts the crown on the head of the person that Chaos wants to rule. And that's part of his punishment, he has to crown the Ever-Chosen.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's part of what leads him into his plan of, alright, well, let's make the Ever-Chosen my Ever-Chosen. So not Archaon, at this point his name is Dietrich. He grows up as a good Sigmarite boy and goes off to be the squire to a Sigmarite knight. Sigmarite knight is not a fantastic guy. He's off drinking and shagging his way around the Empire. Occasionally, he kills some beastmen, something like that, but it's mostly just so he can wander into a town in his fancy armour and his big sword and his brutal warhorse and be like, look at me, I'm a big powerful knight, I'll take you, and you, and you, and you.
Why did you stop when you looked at me? That's not fair. Aww.
his name was Sir Castner. Castner dies, and Archaon's got all of his... Well, Diedrich has got all of his gear. He's got his horse, Oberon. He's got his enormous Sigmarite blade, Terminus. He's got his armour and all of his stuff. So he comes up with a plan with the help of the other squire, who also gets killed along the way, of going to Castner's estate and speaking to Castner's wife, who has been known to be sympathetic to the bastard offspring of Sir Castner as he's shagged his way around the old world. So he goes there and he claims to be Castner's bastard son. So she gives him the last name Castner. She accepts him into the family, gives him some parcel of land, and what that does is means he is now of noble birth and is able to join the Sigmarite Templar Order himself, which is what he wants. He wants to serve in the name of Sigmar. He's devoted his life to the God King. He is a devout Sigmarite who genuinely believes what he's doing is the right thing. And that works out all right for him. He becomes a knight. He gets his own squire. He goes around the countryside doing what a Sigmarite should do. He's reasonably chaste. He hears word of dangerous beastmen lurking in the forest, and he goes out on his own to start chopping them down because he's there to protect Sigmar's faithful from the dangerous, chaotic bits of the world. And it's during one of these elements, one of these excursions, that everything goes a bit tits up for him. Whilst fighting a beastman herd, Terminus, his big-ass sword, goes into the herdstone, chips a shard of the herdstone off, which is... The herdstone is made of pure warpstone, which embeds itself in his eye. Blinds him in his left eye. And he's now got... Warpstone is literally the raw stuff of chaos. It is the concept of chaos made manifest and physical, and it's stuck in his head. They can't get it out. It's by the time he's got to a doctor, it's kind of grown into his skull. He's starting to get a stigmata of not only is he blind in his eye, but it's bruised and livid in the shape of the Chaos Star. During all this time, he doesn't lose his faith. He is a Sigmarite. This is just something he'll come to terms with. He still tries to do the right thing, and it becomes harder and harder for him to observe his faith. At one point, he stops being able to pray. He physically can't make his mouth do the necessary movements to it. He can't say the words of Sigmar. It hurts him to set foot in the churches of Sigmar. It hurts him to look upon the Sigmarite nun that's wandering around with him, to look upon the runes all over his armour. He feels the silver hammer he wears around his neck melt to his chest. Terminus starts to catch fire whenever he holds it, because he's now the thing it's all designed to ward against. And during all of this, he never stops trying to be a good man. He never stops trying to be a noble knight and do the right thing to protect people and to be a servant of Sigmar, even as he is becoming ever more damned by having come into contact with chaos. And then he gets attacked by other Sigmarite knights who've been dispatched by the Archlector, who is the Empire's Pope, who've been dispatched by them to kill him. He finds out that they have killed Castner's original wife, killed all of his household, killed all of his alleged relatives. Obviously, they're not really related to him because he's not really a Castner. Burnt his lands, killed everyone connected to him, all because he might be the person who would become the Chaos Warlord Archaon that's mentioned in this fell prophecy that obviously Be'lakor wrote. There's a few pages missing from the version Diedrich Castner has been able to look at. He's not Archaon. He knows he's not going to become a Chaos Warlord. He has no intention of marching north and throwing in his lot with the ruinous powers he's fought against all of his life. He wants to do the right thing by Sigmar. But it's getting harder and harder for him when the church is trying to kill him and his brother knights are trying to kill him, and the only things defending him are 5 Chaos Warriors with wings that have come down silently from the north and won't leave him alone. He now goes to the cathedral in Altdorf, thinking, I'm going to go see the Archlector, I'm going to straighten this all out, maybe he'll be able to help me, maybe he can bless me. I know I'm not Archaon, I'm not a servant of Chaos. I need to speak to this guy. And he finally gets into the throne room, and it's not easy. He doesn't just walk in. He fights his way in, and he bars the door. There's just him and the Archlector in there. The army's outside cannoning the door. The rest of the Templars are trying to beat their way in. He's screaming at the Archlector, "What's going on? Why won't you help me? I'm not done anything wrong." what's on the missing page. I'm not Archaon. Who am I? And the missing page, the Arch-Lector reveals the one who will be Archaon is the person who'll come seeking his name, or something like that. Something, I can't remember the exact words, but Kastner's coming to the cathedral to question the prophecy is exactly what it says Archaon will do in the prophecy. And that's kind of his emotional blue screen of death. He just shuts down at that point. He can't believe that this might be true, and he's played into it. And he turns round to the statue of Sigmar and kind of abases himself before Sigmar, and he's praying for help, he's praying for deliverance. He's been a devout Sigmarite all his life, and he hears nothing back in return, and he starts to realise that it's all a lie, and that Sigmar's not a god. Sigmar is just a man. It's just lies. He was a great man. He united the Empire, he united the tribes, and he fought back the Greenskins and formed the nation they live in now. But he's not a god.
And is this why in the end times, when they basically say to him, "Oh, Sigmar's coming," Archaon's go, "No, he's not real.
Yeah.
He doesn't exist," because of all this background stuff.
Because Archaon realises that he's devoted his life to a lie. Sigmar's not a god. They've worshipped him as one, but he was just a great man. And he kind of snaps in this moment. Everyone's trying to kill him, all these Sigmarites, and he thinks they're all deluded. They're all worshipping this person who's not a god, who I've spent my whole life devoted to this lie of the God King, and he kills them to defend himself, basically. And then the Empire break down the door, and he snaps and he starts killing them as well. He sets fire to the cathedral, gets out in the confusion, and he's left with no option but to go north, because that's what you did. That's where a lot of people fall into chaos, is that he's been basically run out of town. He has to go north because nowhere in the Empire is safe.
Can I just ask, right? So, in my head, the Warhammer world's not a nice place. Really horrible. I'd hate to live there.
Yes, it's
It's
proper
medieval
Europe. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was awful.
It's proper old school, and all, Black Death and Plague and all the rest of
I don't
it.
even think they've got toilet paper.
I'm not even sure they have toilets.
So, I was about to say, how did they go to the toilet? But no.
People didn't back then.
They didn't go to the toilet back then? No,
No, that's only something some people started doing in the 20th century.
Oh, okay.
But internal combustion engine and pooing.
Right, so you've got the Empire, which is a place of Sigmar.
Yeah.
This guy comes back.
Well, not just Sigmar. There are also a number of other gods of the Empire, which are never really covered anymore in the fluff, like Shalaya, the god of
Shalaya is the goddess of healing.
Ulrich
is the god of winter and the other warrior god. Mor is the god of death. Manan, I think, is the god of the sea. So they have a big pantheon, and these are all the people who were worshipped by Sigmar when he was alive.
Right.
And Sigmar... I don't want to invite any internet rage here, but they wrote it back in the day very much in a similar manner to the way in which Christianity came about, where Sigmar is Jesus. Sigmar worshipped Ulrich and all of these other people in the same way that Jesus was Jewish, and after they died, they were venerated and worshipped as God. I mean, the difference here is that Jesus said he was the Son of God, and that's what was going on. Sigmar never claimed to be a god. Sigmar just united the tribes and was worshipped as the god king after he died.
Okay, so right. Okay, so what I don't understand though is, so this dude walks back in from being away. He's blind in one eye with marks of chaos on his face. Why don't the people just cut his head off?
Because they don't know about chaos.
He doesn't. These people do. The Templars, that's what their job is.
Yeah, no, but general villages and stuff at the time, they'd see him, they'd still be like, yeah, he's fine.
But also, don't forget, he has a helm.
Yeah.
I am abbreviating things here so that this isn't just this podcast isn't me recording an audiobook of Archaon Everchose. But he doesn't just walk into the cathedral. What he does is strip down, crawls through miles of sewers, breaks his way up, kills a priest, covers himself in that priest's robe, and then starts walking into the cathedral.
So Shawshanks his way in.
Right, okay, because I was going to say, because surely as soon as one guy turned up with marks of chaos, he wouldn't get that far anyway, because
he breaks into the cathedral. He knows it. It's his cathedral.
Right, okay.
So he goes north, and he takes the Divine Book of Celestine with him. He takes Father Dagobert with him, who's trying to save his soul the whole time, and they start to read through the prophecy and look for the prophecy, and he thinks, you know what, sod it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the Everchosen on my terms. And he realises that what he has to do is assemble the treasures of chaos. It says you need the 6 treasures of chaos, not what they are or where to find them. and it's over the course of getting them that Archaon transforms from noble Empire Knight to all-powerful Chaos Lord. There's 6 treasures of Chaos. I'm going to try and do this from memory. It's not necessarily in the order that he gets them. The Mark of Chaos Undivided. He finds that on a black ark at the Altar of Ultimate Darkness in Nagaroth somewhere. That's where he is actually marked by all 4 Chaos Gods. That's one of the treasures you can't get that otherwise. The Armour of Morkar, the armour of the first ever chosen of Chaos, which in the game is what means you can't wound him on better than a 3+, and makes him immune to poison. It's why Archaon's armour looks different to a lot of the other armour in the Chaos range, because it's much, much older.
Right. Okay.
He gets that in an ice cave on the southern Chaos Wastes. The 3rd treasure is the Eye of Shirian, or Shirian, which is the gem that he wears in his helmet, which is why they call him the Three-Eyed King, even though, ironically, he only has one eye. The Eye of Shirian is he takes from the Demon Zinch wizard Shirian after he cuts him out of the belly of the Chaos Dragon Flamefang, and that's what gives him in the game his ward save. It gives him far sight. It allows him to see literally things far away. It complements what they call his dark sight. As he lost the sight in his left eye, he actually has a dark sight through it where he can see magic through it. He can see the dark magics. He can see the darkness in people's souls, and seeing the realms of the winds of magic move around is what allows him to harness them and manipulate them, and why he becomes a sorcerer as well.
Right, so he's like Predator for the winds of magic.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So he's got the eye, he's got the armour, he's got the Mark of Chaos. The next one is the Steed of the Apocalypse, Dorgar, and he gets that from the Southern Chaos Wastes as well, from a Slaneshi castle, a Slaneshi menagerie. This Chaos, the Slanesh Demon Lord just collects rare creatures, and one of them is the Steed of the Apocalypse, and Archaon gets himself captured. He does a lot of this stuff on his own. He tends to amass big-ass armies and then says, wait here, I'm going to go do this, because that just makes him more badass, that he's got such a force of personality that people recognise him as greatness, and they'll flock to his banner, and he doesn't need them. He does it all by himself. So he goes in here, he breaks out the Steed of the Apocalypse, has a hell of a battle of wills with it, and eventually manages to break it. And for the most part, Dorgar assumes the form of Oberon, the now long dead steed of Sarkastna. And the next treasure of chaos, what are we on? 4 there?
4 you had, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the 5th one is the 5th one's the Slayer of Kings. To get that, he needs to go back into the northern realms, and he does that by doing something no mortal's ever done, which he walks through the southern polar gate. So he walks through the wrecked southern polar gate into the realm of chaos. Yes, Simon?
I've got my hand up to ask a question.
Yeah.
What's the southern polar gate?
Do you know what the northern polar gate is?
The opposite of the southern polar gate.
Okay, I knew you were going to say that. I so knew you were going to say that.
How have you never read a Warhammer book?
Look, all I read is 10 from the back and rank it up in units of rows of 10 to get extra rank.
You're everything that's wrong with this hobby.
We are sat next to the end times.
Okay, quick recap of the creation myth of the Warhammer world.
Is this where there's a north and south opposite? Is that what it is?
No, there is, for all intents and purposes, a big-ass stargate on the top and the bottom of the world that the old ones used to travel between worlds. That was their method of interstellar travel. Gate. They collapsed during some unspecified catastrophe, which is what allowed chaos to pour into the world. That's what sent the old ones fleeing away. That's what polluted the world with chaos, created the winds of magic, it created the beastmen, all the monsters in the world. They were all because chaos poured into the world.
Moon and
more sleep. That all happened because the Chaos Gates collapsed, and now they are just tears in reality, where reality and the realm of chaos bleed into each other, and to get near one is to mutate and die.
So it's a bit like what I think was the Eye of Terror in 40K.
Yes, it's like the Eye of Terror.
Mini Eyes of Terror.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Archaon walks his army through it, and then out the other side into the Northern Gate. And
which takes mad skills.
Yeah. I think it's like it could have been seconds or it could have been millions of years in between, but they're not quite sure. No one who went through it came out unchanged, and Archaon's particular mutation is that his bones have basically turned to stone. which is why it's just even more nails. He's almost immune to pain at this point. He's ridiculously strong. He's not aging anymore. And he goes and gets the Slayer of Kings, which is the sword of the second ever chosen, possessed by a bloodthirster, Uzul, who he can break out every now and then. And then he has to collect the final treasure of chaos, which is the Crown of Domination, Crown of Dominion. Crown of Domination, I think.
Domination.
Yeah. He grabs the Crown of Domination, and that is what crowns the Everchosen. Be'lakor has to manifest and put it on his head. During this process, he's found out that Be'lakor's been pulling the strings and manipulating him all the way along.
Okay.
And he goes and finds Be'lakor's palace and throws down with him.
So I'm going to ask a random question now. So he kills the guy in the cathedral in the Empire.
Yeah.
He takes his little buddy, runs up north, and he still wants to be a good guy. So why the hell does he go and get the 6 items he needs to be the Everchosen?
No. He stopped wanting to be a good guy when he went all emo inside the monastery and realised he was self-fulfilling.
Oh, I thought he took like the holy book with him.
He took the prophecy with him so he could make it come to pass. He never stopped being a good guy in his head, but he stopped being a Sigmarite. And there's a difference between the two. Sigmarites aren't necessarily good guys just because they're portrayed that way in the background. Archaon's master plan, which is what differs, it's what he does in the end times, is what differs from the Everchosen's prophecy, Everchosen's goal. He's not going to conquer the world. Archaon wants to unmake it. He hates the Chaos Gods. He doesn't worship them. He's using them as a tool. But because he's assembling the treasures of chaos, they kind of are yoked to him. They will give him their power because no one of them wants... Tzeentch isn't going to go, you know what, I'm not interested in this guy, I'm stepping back and let the other 3 get a bigger share of someone who could be Everchosen. So they're all kind of locked in. They're willing to lend him their power because they think he's going to do what they want. Archaon is using them as a tool. He hates the gods of chaos as much as he hates Sigmar. He thinks all of the gods are lies. They're manipulating people. They are driving people away from what he believes is the true path. And as he becomes aware that worship creates the gods and that they're false and they're lies, the only real choice he can make is to destroy everything. If he doesn't just sack the Empire, if he unmakes reality, then the Chaos Gods would cease to exist because he doesn't know that there's other planets and other universes out there, if there are. Archaon he doesn't want to conquer the world, he wants to destroy it. He is raging against being betrayed by his god. The whole time what drives him is the fact that he is angry that he feels like Sigmar forsook him. And he's reacting to that by seeing Sigmar as a lie, wanting no part of Sigmar. He is seeking out the Everchosen status so he can amass the armies he needs to do what he wants, which is march, as you know, having read the End Times or listened to the other reviews of the End Times. We don't need to go into the details of the whole story of it. What he does is marches south until he gets to Middenheim and stops. He's not interested in going to Altdorf. He's not interested in anything else because what he wants is underneath Middenheim, the MacGuffin that will allow him to open the warp gate within the core of the world and suck it all into damnation and destroy everything. He's not just trying to destroy the world. He's trying to literally unmake it.
See, so I think this is quite good then, because when I was going through the End Times, I just thought Sigmar's back. He's a god. He's going to protect the good guys. Oh, he's fighting the leader of the bad guys. But actually, in a way, he's sort of like the enemy of Archaon, because Archaon hates Sigmar.
Yeah, in Archaon's head,
didn't appear to me.
He's still the hero. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's twisted and he's quite possibly crazy because he's got a lump of warpstone stuck in his head, and he's spent 200 or 300 years wandering around the northern southern wastes and an eternity wandering around the realm of chaos. So he's almost certainly nuts. But in his head, what he's doing is the right thing. His
heart's in the right place.
His heart of stone. What he's doing is the only way he can end the tyranny of the Chaos Gods and the falsehoods of Sigmar's lies is to just say, to hell with it, screw it, scrubbing it all, I am unmaking the world, and if someone fuses it back together, we'll start from scratch. That's So I'm really hoping that there's some shout out. I know one of the rumours a few months ago was that the overall leader of the what we now know as the Stormhost Eternals, Sigmar's armies. Now that we know it's Sigmar, I don't think it will come to pass. But what I'd really hoped would happen is that these holy knights, these holy Avengers, were going to be led by Archaon, because he tumbles down into the abyss.
Okay.
He could have been saved with all the others. And in my head, what would have worked perfectly, it would have been the perfect end to his story, is he achieves his goal, he fulfills his destiny, he sticks his middle fingers up to Be'lakor and doesn't give Be'lakor what he wants. He doesn't rule the world and let Be'lakor possess him. He unmakes everything, wipes the slate clean, and starts from scratch. And if you're starting from scratch, then yeah, that's fine. He could be a good guy again. He could be a holy knight because he wants to protect people from the darkness of the world. If any seeped back into the new version of it, I genuinely wouldn't have been surprised, and I'm always a little disappointed they went with the obvious thing. And the last line in the last paragraph in the End Times books, the last paragraph in End Times Archaon, where it mentions a man who was once a god, or a god who was once a man, something like that, started fusing reality back together. Part of me thought that could have been Archaon, and he could have been elevated to demonhood or something in the final moments, and then he started to remake the world the way he wanted, in a more pure, idealistic way, without the tyranny of and lies of the gods that he saw there. And I suppose I should probably have started this whole thing, and I'll couch it now by saying this is my interpretation of what's written in the Black Library novels. You may well read it and get none of that and decide, oh, he's just a generic two-dimensional chaos character. He was just like all of. I think what those Black Library novels do is they flesh out the background in the same way that the Horus Heresy stuff does for a lot of the traitor Primarchs. Don't get me wrong, in the Horus Heresy stuff, I honestly think a lot of the traitor Primarchs are still rubbish. They just, we follow the Emperor. Should we not? Yeah, okay, let's not. Let's fall to chaos instead. I don't think a lot of them are given really solid reasons. There's been a lot of criticism about Horus's fall basically being he has a weird, trippy dream when he gets stabbed by a chaos artifact, wakes up and goes, right, sod it, chaos now. But it's that same kind of idea. They're explaining Archaon's fall, why. And as I read it, everything he does in the End Times makes perfect sense to me, because what he's still trying to do is lash out, almost like an angry child, lash out at Sigmar, who was, I suppose, if you were raised in a Sigmarite priesthood, he is Archaon's father figure, and he's trying to lash out at his absentee dad, who's turned out to be a lie all of this time. And the way he does that isn't by destroying the Empire, it's by unmaking the world, because that also thwarts Chaos's plans and Be'lakor's plans. And that's my potted history of the Lord of the End Times, and why I think he's the most, even more so than fan favourite Vlad von Karstein, why I think he's the most interesting character in the End Times story. And it's such a crying shame that he doesn't get the page time and the development that he deserves in that, so that he doesn't, because the End Times are his story, it's what he does. He puts all of this into motion. Nagash comes back because Archaon's making his big push, and this is his chance. The Skaven Uprising happens because the world is going to pop because of Archaon's push. The Great Exodus happens because of the End Times, because of the elements of the demons that are starting to appear and what happened with the Skaven. It's all driven by Archaon. It's all his story, and the final act of his attempt to redeem himself through darkness. But all he gets is then Archaon sat on his throne, and then Archaon cut off.
He doesn't appear till the second half of book 5, really. Whatever it is. Pretty much.
He's in like the prologue of Glotkin, where he goes and finds the Glotkin and says, "You look like you could threaten me, so I'm going to dispatch you south and see if you can conquer the Empire. Great, I'll swoop down just before you do it and take credit. And if you don't, well, then I've got rid of a potential threat to my leadership." And he actually, in the novels, he does that quite a lot as his horde grows and grows and grows and grows, because he basically marches around, he finds somebody and says, "You can join me or die." And eventually they all just start joining him, because they just can't win against numbers of this. They can't repel numbers of that magnitude. But if someone starts to get a bit upstarty, a bit like there might be a threat, he'll send them off on a mission on their own, which will either he'll send them off on their own on a suicide mission, not expecting them to come back, or he'll go with them and then he'll just kill them while he's away from the rest of the horde and make it seem like they died in battle, march back, problems dealt with. He had a couple of hordes fall apart because his lieutenants have worked against him or undermined him behind the scenes. So now he's quite happy to do everything quite hands-on, where if anyone starts to get a little bit too sure of themselves, Slayer of Kings comes out and they end. So with that in mind, does that change your interpretation of the end times, either if you've read it or if you've listened to the reviews?
Well, he's not such a douche then, I don't think. He's actually got a reason for it, because when you actually go through the end times books, he is just in the shadows, in the background, sat on his throne, twirling his moustache, biding his time.
I mean, he probably has a moustache. He was still an Empire man at heart, so I assume underneath the crown of domination, he still has a glorious moustache.
Which he uses Slayer of Kings to keep it trim.
Slayer of Kings is on fire. It would just char it all off. There's no worse.
Yeah, but his moustache should be made of stone.
Made of stone?
Yes.
Stone moustache. But it actually gives him, I suppose, a reason, and I didn't realise, actually, it's quite good, because, in a way, I understand now why he hated when Teclis was mocking him about Sigmar coming back and things, and why he almost is the opposite of Sigmar in a way, because that was the reason he went evil in the first place. So actually it does give him the motivation, I suppose, which you don't really get from the End Times books. It's just, here comes generic Mr. Bad Guy. Wow, he's bad.
Yeah, like every other fantasy fiction dark warlord, he wears the spikiest armour, has the fanciest hat, and he kills people.
Pretty much.
I think as well, it's like we were just saying off air, that there are the various points, especially in the last book, where the interplay between Archaon and who we've come to know as Sigma comes into effect, and that interaction, and that doesn't really come across if you don't realise who Archaon's backstory and why he would absolutely hate Sigma, and also why he doesn't believe he is a god. So the fact that he's suddenly there is like, this must be this almost this massive psychological blow for him, and sort of questioning that, that point at which he switches in the cathedral of there is no Sigma, and then suddenly at the very end there is Sigma. There must be, even though we don't see it sort of on screen, that sudden thought must cross his mind of, well, if he really is there in front of me, has everything that I've done been worth it?
I just assume he's gone that psychopath by that point, that he's gone beyond. But I suppose he's trying to keep his own mind, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's why he ignores what Bellicor says and what the four gods want.
He is empowered by all four of the gods, but he's none of their slaves. Although in the rules, the simple way that they do it is they just give him all four marks of chaos. In the background, he's not frenzied. He's not a mad, raving man. He doesn't give in to his lusts and desires. He's not a rotting, diseased corpse, and he's not a crazy Tzeentchian schemer and plotter. He uses all of their strength and their tools as he needs to, but he constantly remains his own man, his own force of personality. Even as Bellicor tries to pull his strings from behind the shadows, he still basically screws all of them by ending the world.
Which quite literally screws them all.
Yeah. Well, except for Bellicor and the Chaos Gods, who exist in the realm of chaos, and as it says in the end of it, the Chaos Gods just go and play a different game.
Yeah, they don't play 40k.
Yeah, so, okay.
And everyone else who gets sucked into the Rift Gate, who now are in a different realm completely.
Realm Gates.
Realm Gate, not Rift Gate. Rift Gate, that's a game, isn't it?
Rift Wars is a game?
Isn't it just called Rift?
Tripping
There
the Rift
was-
is
You're
a
about
TV
computer
show?
game.
It
It
was
was
like
a computer game.
It was an
called
MMO?
Rift. Yeah,
MMO?
Rift.
Like a fake
Yeah,
Warcraft?
yeah, it's
there you
Rift.
go.
Yeah.
Realm Gate. So they all get sucked off into there.
Can I just had a thought? Can I just check something as well? That's why the Swords of Chaos, not the sword. Is that the name
The
for them?
Swords of Chaos were the warband at the heart of his horde, and they started with those five winged Chaos
Who are
warriors.
always unmarked.
Yeah,
That's why they're unmarked, because they are Archaons and they're not any of the Chaos Gods.
yeah.
That actually now makes sense.
They're his sworn warriors. They think of themselves as his bodyguard, but he's Archaon and he doesn't actually need a bodyguard. It's just, it's the dumb thing that the warrior king should have one. What?
It's almost like the honour guard to a Primarch, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like quite a shit job, really, because
You are entirely unnecessary.
Yeah.
He's Archaon, and by the time he's ever chosen and Lord of the End Times, and he's got all of his toys, he is he's going toe to toe with super-powered Super Saiyan Sigmar and beats him. And it's only by Sigmar throwing himself at Archaon and knocking him over the side that he manages to knock him down. And whilst going toe to toe with Sigmar, he's also fighting all of the other demigod incarnates. Yeah.
Well, they're saying that Grimgor actually beats the crap out of him again.
No, Grimgor breaks the eye of Shirian, and then Archaon stops toying with him and cuts his head off.
Archaon panics and then unleashes the sword, basically.
Yeah, he has the power. He has the power of a greater demon bound into his sword, which he hasn't been using. He has been toying with Grimgor.
But I thought that was because Archaon's afraid or something. He doesn't like.
He's
afraid of the demon. He doesn't like using and relying on it.
He's a proud man, and he doesn't want to be dependent upon the demon because he knows what the pitfalls of that are, and he would rather dispatch Grimgor himself. But he is a practical and pragmatic man, and when it seems like this could turn into a much longer fight that I haven't got time for, all right, I'll just break out Uzo and kill him instead.
Poor Grimgor.
Poor Grimgor had it coming. Grimgor's been exalted in the fluff for far too long for no friggin' reason.
Yeah, but I wanted him to get sucked off into the gate and then he could play in the new game.
He will do anyway.
No, he's dead.
It'd be Grimgor.
Yes. And yet every model in the Warhammer range is getting a
War Scroll.
Is getting a War Scroll.
Oh, I thought it was. Oh, right.
No,
okay.
They've said every model.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
There's pictures of Manfred. Manfred's dead.
There's a picture of Teclis, wasn't there? He's
they could rename them. It could be
blew
the
up.
same models. They might just rename him. You said every model will be used. It could be just generic elf wizard.
I haven't read the 96 page background book, but the last thing I heard was that all of the incarnates were elevated to kind of godhood. So,
which would make
sense.
They
can manifest as demigods for a certain amount of times and be summoned to the battlefield.
Which explains why there's the whole different worlds with
yeah.
But
so, like, Grimgor should be the god that the people of the realm of Gur worship.
Sounds about right.
So
I've literally just got that the beast's magic is called Gur.
Grr.
I've only said the first one I've ever said it out loud.
So
that's it. That is the end times. Fantastic, unbelievable feat that Games Workshop went through, where they spent a year basically destroying their world. They did everything nobody ever thought they'd have the balls to do, and I don't think you'll find another games company that's confident enough that what they do is write the story that literally destroys everything, kills off all of their characters, destroys all their worlds, and most remarkably, lets the bad guy win.
Well, can I ask a question, actually? Because I know you've bought every one of these. Do you feel a bit cheated in a way that you've bought all these and quite soon after... Not that they're irrelevant, but...
Not at all. I barely looked at the rules section of them. I haven't read a lot of the... I haven't read a lot of the stuff in the rules sections because I bought them for the story, and that's what I was most interested in. I've had my hours of enjoyment reading the story, and to be honest, at like £14, £50 a pop, they're expensive for just a book, just a story, but I'm not disappointed that they are irrelevant now, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm really, really pleased that they didn't just push the reset button. The whole end times thing was like, what was Games Workshop actually doing what comic book companies tend to do a lot, of doing this big company-wide crossover and then changing the world as the result of it. It is the Crisis on Infinite Earths, it's Flashpoint, it's something where they do a huge big crossover and then the world, everything is different as a result of it, and I'm really glad that they didn't just go, none of it ever happened, like they did with Storm of Chaos.
I think that was the real worry of everybody going in, was that we were going to have this, however long it took to do the end times, and the ninth was going to come out and there was going to be no mention of it.
It was just going to go back.
And that would have just been such a crying shame. And everybody who's now moaning, the amount that they would have moaned if it had just reset would have been 10 times more.
There is, the final thing as well, that obviously that GW are going to come around to your house and take those books from you, because you can never play with them again.
No, I'm not allowed to look at them.
Not allowed to look at them or anything either. So this is the other thing. It's a game, it's your hobby. They're not wasted. You can still use them and play them.
I have I have the. I started playing in 5th edition with Warriors of Chaos with a book that was called Realm of Chaos, and I've still got that, and a book that was called Champions of Chaos, and I've got that, and I've got the Hordes of Chaos book, and I've got the Warriors of Chaos book, and I've got the other Warriors of Chaos book, and I've got what was the current Warriors of Chaos book. The background, the pictures, the models, the artwork, it doesn't just disappear when the edition changes, so I'm not bothered at all.
No.
I'm glad that it happened because it's what I wanted to happen. I wanted the end time to have actual make a difference and stick around afterwards, and it seems like they have done. So I'm really happy with that. So should we wrap it up about the end times? Quick run through. You must all have picked up at least some of the story, even if you haven't read the books. Favourite character, favourite moment, Simon.
Favourite character only because I think he's crap. Krell became Superman badass and kicked the crap out of everyone.
Krell was always Superman
But
badass.
he's not, though. He's rubbish.
His rules in
have
the
you
game.
ever, have you ever played them in the game? It's terrible.
His rules in the. It's
And
like
they're-
Krom the Conqueror.
Exactly. But in the story, he just kicks the crap out of everyone.
To be fair, Krell gets killed multiple times, and Archaon just Nagash just keeps bringing him back.
But then he can go toe to toe pretty much with anyone and beat them up with his big axe.
Because he is a Chaos Lord. He is a Chaos Lord who is like the epitome of Mortal Kombat prowess, and he's also immortal.
No, I get that. I think the best moment was when I was first reading Nagash and the whole pyramid rising up and stuff. Because suddenly you were like, "Oh, this is all changing. This is all new. Things can actually move around, quite literally move around, but it's not going to be static." And that obviously sort of set the tone for the rest of it. But I was probably most surprised by Krell, and I quite liked the Black Pyramid when it first started.
Daz?
Teclis. For no other reason than he's the only character I know that dicked about with a lot of people, and I've not read the fluff.
You see, I was tempted to choose Teclis because
Now, I do know roughly. I've played High Elves. I know roughly his background and stuff, and I know he's an interfering old fart. Best of times.
Teclis thought he was playing everybody.
No, but he was being played.
He was being played,
Yeah.
and I suppose
And that is the ultimate thing for him, isn't it?
Yeah, he betrayed his brother by letting his illegitimate daughter be killed.
let's face it, he
to-
pretty much betrayed everyone.
Every
he's
elf
to
as well.
say he's supposed to be the good guy. He was an
Yeah.
absolute
He was-
twat.
He was kind of like Malcador in 40k. He's kind of like Merlin in the background. He was the one who will get his hands dirty. Teclis, much like Archaon, everything Teclis did, he did for the absolute right reasons. He was prepared to sully his soul. He was prepared to cause any amount of hardship if it allowed the elven race to prevail. He just didn't realise he was being played by Lilith all along anyway.
So yeah, that's me.
Neil?
Favourite part? It's either the lizard men leaving or the vortex collapsing, because both those points were the world has changed. Because the vortex has always been there,
Yeah.
and when that
You on about the elven one?
yeah,
Yeah, the Great
Yeah,
Vortex.
yeah.
when that went, it's like at that point it's like there's no going back. It's the world has irrevocably changed, and the same with the Great Exodus, when the Lizardmen turn around and go, "That's it, we're off." It's like the world's just changed forever. It's no longer the Warhammer world that I've known for 20 odd years. It's now something completely different, and the fact that happened, but also the fact that then continued and we didn't have this reset. Because I was so worried they were going to reset it. That would have been awful. To have gone through the emotions of all these books and seeing all this happen, and then go, and it didn't actually happen. That would have just been awful. As far as favourite character, I'm kind of struggling because they're all. It probably is Archaon.
Yeah.
I'm a Chaos player, but
That is the right answer.
Yeah. But he is, of all the characters, I think he is probably the most well-rounded, but the least well-written.
Yeah.
He's certainly the least well written, because the best written is Vlad.
Well, yeah, I was going to
Well,
come on to that.
Sorry.
The,
So Dan, who's your favourite character?
Well, despite the fact that by far one of my favourite characters in the Warhammer background is Archaon, in the actual End Time series itself, he's not written very well, he's not given any motivation, and I think it would be a crying shame for us to have 4 people sit here and talk about favourite characters and no one mention Vlad von
I think
Carstein.
that's because we've all tried to avoid the obvious.
Or to give him his full title, Vlad von fucking awesome Carstein. Vlad is somebody who I had never been interested in the background. I never liked any of the Vampire Counts background. It all seemed like really poor Dracula and Anne Rice and World of Darkness type emo rip-offs. I wasn't interested at all. And Vlad comes back and he does everything like a boss. He is all about protecting Sylvania, and he does the sort of thing he should have done all along, where Vlad wants to rule the Empire, and he can't rule the Empire if there's no Empire. So to hell with Nagash. He only allows Nagash to bring him back because he needs him to try and find Isabella. The first chance he gets, he abandons Sylvania, marches to Altdorf, and throws his lot in with the other humans and says, "I will fight beside you." And they finally make him an Elector Count. They acknowledge his nobility, which is something that he's wanted all along. Although, as somebody who doesn't enjoy playing against undead armies, I'm not going to complain that no version of Vlad got given a Roomfang.
That'd be nasty.
Yeah, nobody wants to see Vlad with a Roomfang.
That's awesome.
And to be honest, in the background, I don't think he'd have taken it, because his sword, Blood Drinker, is what allows him to not have to feast on people, because he gets his blood that he needs to survive through killing people in combat, in battle, and he doesn't need to drink blood from other people. Because Vlad is still an aristocrat, and I guess basically not a nice guy, but a decent guy at heart. He lives in a shit world where being a tyrant is one of the only ways to survive.
He is essentially the Bram Stoker Dracula, isn't he? The tragic character who is how he is because of what's happened to him.
Yeah. Vlad tries to do everything right, and then finally it goes out in the best way possible, where he takes himself out with Isabella at the same time, but manages to slip his Carstein ring onto her so that she'll be able to resurrect, and he gives up eternal life so that his wife can live.
We'll see.
So it's a good job he had that ring, because that came into effect at so many points throughout the story as well.
Yeah, it has been a lot. That's kind of Vlad's whole... Because Vlad is Dracula, and Dracula always comes back.
Yeah.
Favourite moment, though, hands down, is... this is really cheesy. I imagine it like an 80s action movie or cartoon. Is, at this point, the Emperor has been stripped of his incarnate status. He's no longer the incarnate of heavens. He is Sigmar, but we don't know that, and he's only referred to in the background as the Emperor. They haven't called him Sigmar. Teclis does his big spell to teleport them to... it might actually be... might be Gelt that does the spell.
Yeah, Gelt
does it. Does his big spell to transport them to Middenheim, and
It's
they all
Teclis.
get scattered.
Teclis.
It's Gelt.
No,
It's the Crucible, isn't it?
No. Gelt does a thing where he takes them into the battle and stuff, but Teclis does the big one to take them off.
Does he?
Yeah.
Alright. Well, anyway, they get scattered there to Middenheim. He's alone, he's in the throne room, and he looks up, and what's sitting above Archaon's throne? Gal Maraz.
That's convenient, isn't it?
We don't know that he's Sigmar. He just says, "Hello, old friend," and reaches up towards it. And the next thing you see, it cuts to outside of the Temple of Ulrich, which, bear in mind, would have been the holiest place Sigmar had ever been to, because it was his god. And there's a thunderstorm out of nowhere, lightning strikes, and he walks out fully empowered, super... but he is a Super Saiyan at this point, isn't he? He's all glowing gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's wielding Galmaraz. And in my head, The Touch by Stan Bush is playing very loudly over the soundtrack, because this is the Warhammer equivalent of opening the Matrix. And he wanders out, and that's it. It's like, right, go time. And I just thought that bit was just so fantastic. That's like drawing the sword out of the stone. It's opening the Transformers Matrix, and I was like, yes, more of this.
Well, you can see the scene, can't you? Because Tyrion's about to die. Just as the killing blow comes down, there he comes. That was Top Gun. That was Top Gun. He comes out, flying out of the temple.
And I thought that bit was fantastic, and that was awesome. That was amazing. It was a really great series. I enjoyed reading every bit of it, except for a lot of everything in the Glotkin book that didn't involve Vlad or Altdorf, because some of that book was painful to slog through. But everything else was gold.
2 questions, and then obviously we'll start wrapping up and stuff. The first one is, obviously, throughout the book, he kept being referred to as the Emperor, not Karl Franz. That's nothing to do with 40k Emperor, is it?
No,
No,
you're aware
just the
that
guy
they
in
live in the
charge.
Empire, right?
No,
The head of the
I
the
get
Empire
that.
is
I
the
get
Emperor.
that. But
He is
what I mean is, Sigmar, the Emperor, is it Sigma.
No,
Is it?
it's not.
It's
First
not,
of all,
right, okay.
they've never made any illusion that it is. At one point, there
no
was the
hints.
idea that perhaps Sigmar had been one of the lost Primarchs, but he is in no way the Emperor. The
Right.
reason they refer to him as the Emperor throughout the Archaon book is because after, when Karl Franz has his arms chopped off and dies, and then gets turned into an incarnate, Karl dies. He doesn't come back. What comes back is Sigmar. So that they're very careful. From that point on, they never refer to him as Karl Franz.
very
because
rarely. Yeah.
He's never referred to as Karl Franz because Karl is dead. They only refer to him as the Emperor.
Possibly some of the characters referred to him as Karl Franz
Yeah.
because they don't know, but
the omniscient narrator...
the narrative is it's the Emperor.
Yeah, no, I got that. I just wondered if there was any hints to it going Sigmar could be
It's just a writing device they used so that they could make it more dramatic when they reveal he's been Sigmar all along.
Okay, fair enough. And I was going to ask what the worst bit of the end times was, but I think you just answered yours.
It's the fact that the Glotkin book just felt like such a... I'm not a fan of Nurgle anyway, but it felt like such a load of filler in there.
I thought you were going to say a load of filth then.
The last chapter was great. The attack on Altdorf, Vlad turning up, Super Saiyan Karl actually secretly being Sigmar appearing, all that stuff was great. And all the chapters before it they were all just one big battle. It just read as this new Nurgle character turned up and did a fight and did win at this fight. Then this new Nurgle character turned up and did more of a fight and did also win at that fight. And then this new Nurgle character turned up and he also did even more of a fight than the other guy did more of a fight and he did one at that fight. And then I thought it was a bit dull and I was disappointed as a Chaos player because I'm expecting that to be our big moment in the sun. But thankfully that came in Archaon when he extinguished the sun and said, fuck you to the rest of the Warhammer world.
Whereas my Ogre Kingdom's got one line, I think, one sentence. They turned up. That was it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Well, it wasn't called Lord of the Ogre Kingdom. It wasn't called Warhammer Ogre Kingdoms, was it? Called Warhammer End Times.
No, but there's just one bit where Grimgor turns up and he had a few ogres with them. Wow.
Yeah, I think
Right.
some of that is expanded in the Black Library novels.
There was another point in the Tunnels of the Dwarfs.
Yes.
Where Goldfang was fighting with the dwarfs and then
he goes,
Turn
sod this, and
Yeah.
going off, yeah.
Then he
Great.
starts fighting the Skaven, and then at one point he starts fighting with the goblins.
Yeah.
Basically, he's easy.
Yeah. He's anyone's. If you pay him.
So I think we're going to leave that review there. We've not really gone into huge details about the books themselves, but
I don't think we can...
I think you'll find a shitload of them on eBay after the 4th of July.
And I don't think we can come anywhere near the justice of what...
I was just going to say, if you haven't read the books and you want to know the full story, go and listen to the Garage Hammer episodes.
It's brilliant.
Probably 20 plus hours of audio there.
At least it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So we wanted to talk about the bit that's not in the books to understand it, and mainly because I'm a bit of a noob and I don't understand anything at all. So I've learned something if no one else has. I've loved it, even if our one listener doesn't. So there you go. That's good.
If Steve's really bored by it, then no one's listening at this point. We can say whatever we want. I just don't care for penguins.
I was going to say cheese balls, and I thought, no, I don't want to say that too loud. Anyway, sorry. And we'll leave it there, so goodbye and good night. See you soon.